Hello and welcome back to PKR Tournament TV. I'm Colin Morris with our co-host Dan Dansky Grant. We've got $20,000 guaranteed TV showdown action for you.
Congrats.
This one back from way back on August 2nd. $55 buy-in. We've got 10 runners left at the FT. Dan, what do you have to say about this one?
Well, all I hope just is that we see some great poker. I mean, we've seen some fantastic poker in the last few weeks, and hopefully that's going to continue.
Yeah, the quality of playing these TV showdowns just keeps going up and up and up.
Call.
Roble thinking about his ace-7 here. First hand of the show.
I call. Check.
Congratulations if you made the final table on this one and you're watching yourself right now.
I check.
Any familiar names on that list, Dan?
You know, actually, I only Laura 888. I don't really recognise anyone else, but I mean, it's quite a big field of 400-odd runners, so it's no surprise that we get the occasional unknowns, but I'm sure they're not that unknown.
Well, they'll be known by the end of the show anyway, won't they? At least the ones that lasted out to the finish. Top prize in this tournament, $5,885. Next person out in 10th, though, just goes home with 306, so they'll all have their eyes on that big prize at the top. There's your chip leaders.
New hand.
Yeah, more than $5,000 between 1st and 10th, so I don't expect to see anyone monkeying around with any dodgy hands right now.
No, that's for sure. As Dan mentioned, we started off with 428 runners. Down to the final 10 here. They've been playing poker for about 3 or 4 hours to get to this point. Ooh! There's Johnny Kick, one of our short stacks, all in with his pocket nines.
Oh dear.
I think he's going to get a call here, don't you, Dan?
Yeah, well, the time when you want ace-king, if you're going to have to call, is when you've got the guy easily covered, and he should just shove over the top. Make sure that no one else comes in behind him.
Got the Brazil football shirt on there. But a few football shirts on the table for this one, actually.
Pause.
Follows Dan's advice. Was that pocket tens I saw folded there? It just flashed on the screen very briefly.
Excuse me. Well, I fancy the ace-king here. I don't know why. Sometimes I get a feeling.
Straight up race. Oh, and there's the king.
Yeah, and the queen
Oh!
didn't help either.
No, the straight might have helped him out in different circumstances, but not this time. Well, Johnny Kick, second hand into the TV tournament. I'm afraid that's your evening. He goes out in 10th place with $306. Not so bad, but not what you would have wanted when you sat down at that table.
Well, it's the bane of the short stack, racing and losing and going out early. And there's no way you can avoid it except perhaps to not arrive as the short stack.
No, I suppose not. Can't really blame him for going all in with the pocket nines like he did, that's for sure. Can't sit around waiting for better than that.
Fold.
Oh, hello.
Nice. We're going to see a bit of tricky play. It's probably a little too early for that.
All in. Pause.
Okay. That's pretty much the opposite of tricky play.
Absolutely. Doesn't want to collar with his pocket kings.
Well, he obviously doesn't want to play the hand, unless he just hopes that someone picks up queens. That's really the only time.
Or maybe a very speculative call from a short stack with ace-king or something like that, I suppose. But
maybe, but even though I know we can see the cards, you know, he almost certainly would have got some action there if he'd perhaps played it a bit cute.
Sure. Would you say that a player in that situation with those cards needs to look at maybe trying to get a bit more value?
Well, he's got
such a premium hit.
Yeah, I mean, he's got $125,000, so you know, I think he can take a few chances. Put in 20 grand and see what happens. See if someone can think they can push him off it. People are prone to the odd silly mistake.
I fold.
Laura 888 with Queen Jack suited.
And yet it's only queen high, and I don't mind that. I don't know, we knock limping sometimes, but that's not so bad.
Well, she's going to hope to see a flop, I suppose.
That's right. It's just this is a nice bit of opportunism with a raggy ace. Really, it's not on the value of the raggy ace that he's doing that. So,
well, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the Queen Jack's going to do. I wasn't aware of the size of her stack, but I would hope that after limping and being asked a question, that you probably lay it down, because you know that if you miss, you're check folding.
And right on cue, she makes the call.
Well, I worry about that. Limping and then calling. Wow.
Holy smokes. Well, she got hit all up and down with that flop. Draw to the royal flush.
Check.
Well, and the more important thing is that you not only do you hit huge with a huge redraw, but your opponents had enough of it to stay in.
And of course, Kiriki won't have a clue what Laura's on because she just made the flat call and then called the raise.
Yeah, and this is the interesting bit. The stacks. Yeah, I would have thought so. Unfortunately, it's a horrible spot for the ace because I mean it looks to be a laydown.
Kiriki really took the bait with the slow play.
I'm surprised by the call a little bit.
Sinker, and it's all over for him. Yeah, no, that an incredible call from Kiriki. Laura 888 makes the queen jack suited pay in a huge way and takes the chip lead by almost double over the next one.
You know, we could talk about that hand all day. I mean, the queen jack could have raised, and then the ace six would have folded actually, and then the queen jack suited would have probably taken the blinds. But instead, he limped, or she limped. Then the raggy ace decided it was a time to steal the blinds, a position raise that turned out wrong once he got called and flopped a bit, but not much. Oh, dear.
Well, and one of the insights I remember from you in an earlier episode was saying that you really like to try to make up your mind about how you're going to play a hand before you even get started.
Yeah.
That way you avoid any of those difficult decisions later. And do you think this was a case of Kiriki changing his mind halfway through after maybe trying one thing pre-flop, then changing his mind after the flop?
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say, sorry, it's not to say that that you can't adapt and change your story mid-hand if it's suitable, but generally speaking, you should be aware of the various outcomes and what you're going to do in those various outcomes. And I don't know, there didn't seem to be a lot of attention paid there, a great deal of thoughts, and perhaps the call was a little too quick. You put 64 grand in hoping to take the pot there and then. What you desperately hoping to be up against for another 100 grand shoved on top. A flush draw, that's about it. You know, you could be you're beaten by almost everything. So I don't know. Even the pot odds look nice, but I think maybe the raggy ace was unlikely to hold up in any spot there.
Well, he's got about 15,000 chips left, Kiriki. So blinds being what they are, he's not out of the game yet, but he's in pretty dire straits.
And I wonder whether he'll be sat there thinking, how can you limp with Queen Jack and then overcall another 20-odd grand? So, but the thing is, you put 36 grand in behind as the Queen Jack, and you put another 170 in ahead, so you can't fault that play.
No, not at all. The flat call pre-flop and stuff, you could maybe look at that a little bit, but no, pretty hard to not play it after flopping the nut straight with the draw to the nut flush straight.
But drama. I mean,
that's
absolutely it's exactly what we're after, and a huge pot for the chip lead when, who knows what either of them were doing is exactly what the doctor ordered, I tell you.
So it's fun. Petrella isolating Kiriki with a raise. Trucker unlikely to make the call with the worst hand in poker, 7-2.
And the suited king won't mind this too much. There's every chance, less so now. A 6 for the splits.
And it's not there, and it's bye-bye Kirikai. I'm going to pretend that's how he pronounces it, just to get the rhyme in there. 9th place money, $376.
Yeah, the others would be delighted. $500 a piece now, whatever happens.
Absolutely. There's going to be some short stacks cheering on the outages as they come up.
Well, you've got to wonder what I wish we could tap into the thoughts of some of the other players when that chip lead pot happened. What on earth were they thinking?
Absolutely. Fat boy flex, ace jack on the small blind.
You can do whatever you like here, but I was gonna say I'd be more likely to limp or put a little raise in. I think people are just worried that in a battle of the blinds that it may look a bit like a steal and look a bit weak. Therefore, they just don't want to put themselves on a